What do you think have been the most important events, people, changes in the past year, both for our society and for yourself?
2020 has been pretty wild for everybody. It's rocked everybody's world. Um, as far as quarantine, everybody being stuck in their house and not being able to go anywhere, COVID-19 has definitely affected society everywhere. Difference in people. We have presidential elections this year, so it changes a lot. Myself, COVID-19's affected me just like everybody else. Stay at home, doing everything. School is online for the most part. Having to learn to live in this COVID world.
What would you want people in the future to know about this time?
This time, 2020 is definitely a year for the books. It's probably one of the most crazy years that any history textbook will ever have. It brought people together and drove them apart on the verge of everything.
What role have you played or what have you done to get through this year?
I myself have stayed pretty much to myself as far as my part as a volunteer firefighter, doing what I still can do to help in COVID as a first responder needs. But myself, I just have worked on myself this COVID-19 year, or this 2020, and made myself better.
How have you changed?
Like I said, I've changed for the better. I think I've really looked into myself because we've all been stuck in quarantine forever, so there's nothing else to do.
Are you hopeful or pessimistic about the future?
I am hopeful. We've been in this for almost a year now, over a year now, and I think we're starting to see the bright side or the endings of COVID-19 in 2020.
Now, time for commercial break.
Have you or a family member been diagnosed with COVID-19 in 2020? You may be entitled to financial compensation. Call the brothers at Law and Law Associates at 1-800-2020-2020.
Having almost completed this college semester under unusual and perhaps challenging circumstances, what would you tell next year's semesters or next year incoming students?
It's definitely been a crazy year this year, having to do pretty much everything online. But as far as next year's students, the way it's looking now, we're still doing online classes. But I would just tell them that you got to study just as hard. You got to show up to class on time, pretty much. You got to put just as much time into your work as you normally would in any regular class. Nothing's different besides you're doing it online. So don't think that changes anything.
What can they learn from your experiences as a college student?
My experiences as a college student have actually been pretty normal. I got to say it's pretty much go to school, do your work, and go home. But I wish I would have done more on-campus activities, things like that. So get involved and do stuff like that.
What can they do to be successful in a course like this or overall in college?
Do what your teachers always say, and like I said earlier, just make sure you study hard and do your work. Do it in on time. Make sure you go the extra step. Make sure your work is quality above all else.
What should they avoid?
Uh, avoid plagiarism, of course. Avoid procrastination. Avoid slacking off. The necessaries.
What do you wish you knew at the beginning of the semester that you now know?
I wish I knew how to sew because the mask industry is booming now because of COVID. I wish I knew that I can't slack off during these online classes like I thought I could. I thought they would be easier than in-person classes. It turns out it's the exact opposite, really. You really can't slack off. Like I said, you do have to be to class on time, and you got to turn in your work all just the same.